All righty, we are back, and boy, we have got a topic for you guys tonight. You and Lori, you and I, we've been dealing with this topic since the very beginning,
Oh, yes,
but
the beginning.
there's somebody that I kind of ran into him last night, kind of the long way around. He's never experienced this, and it's not like he's just a young guy. He's my age,
Mhm.
and he says, why is it I keep looking at the clock and whatnot, and I'm seeing this number, and it's always the same number, and it's starting to freak him out a little bit.
Mhm.
And so it's just I find it so ironic that we were planning on doing this topic anyway. So we're going to work
Yeah.
on numbers, angel numbers specifically.
Mhm. So, yeah,
So
angel
so
numbers
how,
and patterns. Yeah.
yes, and patterns. So how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I was wanted to say that we're doing angel numbers and patterns because another time we're gonna do numerology and we'll go
Mhm.
through life number, life path number, and all that. But
Yes.
tonight is just going to be really special because it's about
Yes.
those patterns. And the reason why they're
Yes.
called angel numbers is because that's the energy of the angels. Those are our
Yes.
numbers or our universe. And, there's people who do believe in angels, people who don't believe in angels. But it's all about like spirit numbers, if that's what you want to call it. But it's such an
Hmm.
exciting topic. If you remember 1111, it's a master number, two master
Yes,
numbers.
two master numbers. And so for those and I'm sure there are some people that are noticing the patterns and they just kind of want to delve into it a little bit farther. We are gonna start from the beginning, and we're gonna talk to you like you're brand new at this. So please,
Mhm.
if you are an expert at it, please join along. Throw us a comment if we're on the right track.
Mhm.
Please give us a comment. So it's basically, have you ever looked at your phone, the clock, a license plate, anything, and noticed 1111 or 222, or every
Mhm.
morning I wake up at 3:07 every morning.
Yeah. 307.
So, and the number that follows me everywhere is 817, and we'll explain later what that means. And so, what what are angel numbers? So, angel numbers don't have anything to do with our zodiac. So, our zodiac is personal to us. So, those numbers are who we are, our personality, and whatnot. So, again, do you want to? Did you already just explain what angel numbers were? I'm going through. Okay, what makes angel numbers so special? Sorry,
Yeah,
you jumped ahead of me there.
that's okay. So angel numbers are just really special because they're basically patterns that exist. So it's a little different from numerology. Numerology, there's like life path numbers, there's soul numbers, there's birth numbers, or so on. And those numbers are our own personal numbers, right?
Yeah, the personality
There's
traits. Yeah.
usually the numerology I do a lot of Dan Mailman. And he has a book called The Life That You're Meant to Live. And it's a very interesting book. I'll get to that at another time. He has a very different take on numerology than a lot of other people do. It's not just standard. It's okay. Um, However, angel numbers are patterns. So it's like double digits, or if you can constantly see a single number. Um, Sometimes, so for example, your birthday. How many times do you look at a clock and see your birthday? Right? For example, mine's
Yes.
818. And I was just telling the story before we came on that I see 818 all the time. I'm on August the 18th. Yes, I just revealed that I'm a Leo. Fire. Um, but I see that constantly. And I usually see it twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. And it's like, wow, because like that's a pattern that's very personal to me. And why
Mhm.
do I get to see that? It's our spirit guides, it's our angel guides saying, you know what? It's time to break your attention, break what's happening, and take a look at that number. That number is very personal to you. I always make a wish for that. And I always make a wish about myself. I
Mhm.
don't make a wish for anybody else because that number is personal to me. Okay.
And I should add, when you see that number, always show gratitude. Thank you for the message.
Always. I
Always,
usually,
always, always.
when I saw it driving in this morning, I was like, thank you very much for, I was explaining it to my son who's 11, master number 11.
Master number.
And he's like, I was like explaining it to him, 818 is my number. It's mine to, that I see because that's the day I was born, and so on. And then I was like, you thank the universe for that number. You thank the energy, thank them and say, thank you for this message they're about to give me, or what does this message mean? And I make a wish, download anything that's coming in, and then I keep going. And I do this while I'm driving. So literally, I get 1 minute, or I don't even know. I might have seen it at the last second. I don't know. But I continue to, I just make a wish. I thank them for letting me have whatever messages I'm meant to have, and to, bring me through my day. But
Mhm,
that's what patterns are. So then if you break that down, eight is a number of abundance. Okay.
mhm,
Abundance is infinite. So if you turn that on your side, take the number eight, turn on the side, it's the infinite
mhm.
symbol.
Yes.
So the infinity. So that's what eight means. So I'm like, okay, good. So now I'm going to have an infinite amount of something today. One is the new beginning. So as new beginning of thought, new beginning of a new idea. If I'm seeing it, there's a reason. So
Mhm.
today I had something new happen today, and
Yes.
that was like something new and positive. So
Hmm.
finally, positive things are starting to happen.
So, um, I mean, we see these numbers everywhere.
Right.
I'm gonna go through all the numbers from 0 to 9, and
Yep.
we can just kind of discuss them all.
Yep.
I remember, gosh, when I was living in London,
Mhm.
Ontario, I kept seeing 911, and it was
Yes.
kind of scaring me. I'm like, oh my God,
Hmm.
is there an emergency? And this was before I really, really understood angel numbers. But
Hmm.
every single place I looked was 911. I bought a car. So if you go back a couple of shows, I manifested a car for myself. Just, it was like instant
Hmm.
manifestation. And so the next morning I bought the car.
Hmm.
And after about 6 months, it needed new brakes. So, because it was a used car and, the brakes just passed inspection. And so I figured I've got a little bit of money put away. I might as well get the brakes done, the front brakes done. And
Hmm.
so I take it in the shop, and the bill, and normally I would have like just been completely beside myself at this price. I looked at the receipt. It said $911.19. Yes, 91119. I
Hmm.
look at my odometer on my car. I'll see 1811118. And I've seen those everywhere. Like I said, I wake up at 307. The number 817 follows me everywhere. What else?
So
For
you're
a
waking up
while,
at you're waking up at 317. So that's a very pivotal 307. Sorry, that's a 10,
307. Yes.
right? That's 10. So 10, when you break that down, is a one.
Yeah.
So that's your time when you're resetting your sleep. Something as really simple as that. You're resetting for the day at 307. So your witching hour, as I would call it, is 307, or between 3
307.
and 3:30 is usually
Yes.
what I would consider your witching hour, which would mean
Yes.
you're resetting your body, you're resetting it. So if it's 307, that's a 10. If it's a like, it's mind blowing. But
Hmm.
think about the patterns: one, two, three, four, one, two, three, one, one, one. It
Hmm.
doesn't even have to be master numbers. It can be numbers like you said, 307. Mine's 818. You've seen 817. A
Hmm.
number that I used to have repeat for me a lot on the clock would be 411.
Hmm.
Okay. Or I would see 422, um, not 817, sorry, 831. And I'm like,
Hmm.
hmm. And you see that. And it's just bringing this into your consciousness, because the universe has a message for you. So you open up and
Yes.
go, what is it that this message is? You're not likely not going to get it right away,
Yeah.
but things will happen from there. The answer to your question that you're having, anything that's about ready to crash
Hmm.
is going to be there as well. No, my kid
Yeah.
wants to say hello.
Oh, hello, kid. How are you?
No, he wanted to
And
say
so,
hello.
and so, like when you say they're angel numbers, so we have
Hmm.
to take a step backwards,
Right.
and so you see patterns in the Fibonacci sequence, for instance,
Hmm.
and that has a lot to do with um, the patterns of the universe. So honeycomb is eight
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
six. Is it six? It's six. Um,
Yes.
there's Fibonacci sequence, binary code. So if you were to break down our physical bodies, it's all binary 0 1 0 0 0 1 1. Your computer. If you were to
Hmm.
dismantle your computer and look at the innards of your programming, it's
Hmm.
all binary codes. And so, how do we know that they're coming from our angels? How do we know this?
It's
Yeah, it's quantum connectivity, quantum
right.
communication, but
Hmm.
how do we know it's our angels talking to us?
It's angels are energy as well. That's how we kind of know. We kind of know that there's a little bing in our ear. There's something happening. Numbers are very significant in our life. Numbers are universal. Like if you think about almost every country in the world uses numbers, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, who for money, as an example, money holds its own energy. So they're like they're universal. So every time you use a number, you see a number, that all has an energy in it. That number does. Um, an angel, like I guess how I know my angels are talking to me. I'm a little different from everyone else because, you know, dead people talk to me. So how do I know it's my not my a dead person, and how do I know it's not an angel?
Hmm.
I look at it from a different point of view. An angel is somebody who has never been embodied in a human soul or in a human body before. So that's a different topic, different time, different day. We'll talk about angels. But
Hmm. Yes.
that just is the possess that is the energy that those numbers possess. That those numbers have that energy that are coming from the angels, coming from the universe, coming from the energy, the ultimate life force energy.
Hmm.
So they're there not just for messages, but to help us even proceed through life. Like, I guess that's the best way to say it. I'm kind of all over
Now,
the place with that one.
do our guides? So everybody has at least, at the very bare minimum, everybody has at least one spirit guide, and
Yeah.
spirit guides can be either never ever been incarnated, or they could be
Mhm.
somebody who has passed away.
Right. Well, there's a difference. So, a spirit, there's your guides have never
Mhm.
had never been embodied, but your guardian spirit or your guardian, those guardians, those are people that have possessed or had that who had been around. Um,
Mhm.
that is part of our beliefs as well, because the ones that are with us throughout our entire life have never embodied a human spirit before. They just have
Mhm.
always been that spirit guide. They've always been that guide. And that's what they've always done. That's what that spirit is meant to do. Now, sometimes you might get a spirit guide that decides that they want to become a human, become into human body, or become, then they lose their spirit guide status. It's okay too.
Mhm.
That's we all, so they'll go through their life cycle as however many 500 lives, 555 lives, all of that. So
Mhm.
then, but you also have your guardian spirits, it's spirits that bring you where you need to be in life. And those are people like my grandfather, for example. Like my guide is used to be Carl, and I had Carl for 15 years.
Mhm.
And Carl was never born, never existed in human form. I saw him in human form, but he never existed in human. But he was my guide that would guide me through everything. My grandfather, when he passed away, he very quickly became a guardian spirit of mine. So that was somebody that was already had been there. So he's kind of, it doesn't mean he doesn't take over, doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that that was the embodiment of the people who've been around us, like almost like,
Mhm.
yeah. And the difference is like an ancestor. An ancestor is somebody that has never has never been met by anybody that is living.
Okay.
So, having said that, like my mother remembers her great grandmother, that she is not an ancestor, if that makes any sense.
It
Now,
does. Yeah.
the great grandmother, that's where where it's basically you're back 7 generations.
Hmm.
That would be an
So
ancestor.
years ago, and I think I told you about this, years ago, back in what year was that now? 2016,
Mhm.
October of 2016. So I met this woman through a Facebook group, and this group had, gosh, had over 700 people in it, and we all listened to the same radio show at nighttime, and it was all
Mhm.
about, the paranormal and
Mhm.
esoteric stuff and all the fun stuff that we love. And
Yeah.
um, and so she calls into this radio show, and and she says to the host, "I'm going to astral travel to your studio." And the host is like, I don't know how you're going to do that, but okay. So the host, what she did was she put a target up on her desk and said, "If you can tell me what I just put on my desk, I'll believe that you've astral traveled to my studio." So So the next night, she calls in again and she says, "I'm seeing the tree of life, like the Kabbalistic tree of life." And she's like, "I'm seeing feathers and just all this stuff, and it's a pen and all this stuff." Well, it turns out that the host, and I saw a picture of it, the host had a giant picture, a big, big picture of the Kabbalistic tree of life on her wall, and she had a pen with a giant feather coming out of it.
Oh,
And so she hit that target, like she just nailed it.
nice.
Anyway, so I messaged I in the group, I said, "Hey, you know what? If you ever want a travel buddy, let me know." So
Mhm.
after the show was over, she phones me. We're talking, and I'm telling you, when we talked for hours and hours and hours for about 6 months, we talked, and then she passed away. And she had promised me, "I'm going to teach you everything I know about the Akashic records."
Mm.
So I know this is getting a little bit off topic, but just to kind of illustrate guides. I'd never met this woman ever, not in person, but
Mm.
we talked a lot on the phone. And a week after she had passed away, boom, there she is in my bedroom. She's in my head. She's everywhere. And she's like, "Remember, I told you, I promised you I was going to show you the Akashic records." And it was 18 months later, after I after I learned how to do meditate and take other people on the
Mhm.
spiritual journey, then she just said, "Okay, we're done. I'm out of here." I'm like, "Well, don't leave." So that's what I mean. Is so once in a while, um, once in a while, I find that
I can't help this. I get my kid and my cat.
oh, kid and the cat. Once in a while, I'll see a number and I will automatically think of her, of
Mm.
doing this. And quite often, that's where the number 18 comes in
Hmm.
for me because it was 18 months of her coming to me
Hmm.
in the spirit world
Nice.
and encouraging me. And so I will always, always, always remember that number 18.
Mm.
Um, do you want to go through like
Yeah,
individual numbers? So like starting with 00?
sure. I was going to say is that's like 18 is a very a resonating number for me as well. Yes, I was born on the 18th of the month, but I've every address I've had that I was independent with had an 18 in it. I lived at 1818. I currently live at a 118.
Mm-hmm.
So everything has an 18, and it's really hilariously funny. Um, because if I'm choosing numbers for something, I'll always choose the number two. I love that number. That's my favorite number.
Yes.
And then I'll choose 18. Sorry, I had that orange run in front of the face.
That's okay.
I'll choose 18. And then I usually choose the number 27. And I could
Hmm.
never figure out why. But when you break down 18 and 27, it's number nine. So
Hmm.
both of them have the same root number. So
Yes. And we can
it's
actually
funny
we can develop a sort of a relationship with these
with the
numbers
number.
as well.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
numbers where they hold where they hold so much energy and they hold so much significance in our lives. Like everything has a number in it. Everything. And I love the way you explained it about the quantum. Quantum, my brain was going quantum physics, and I'm like, right? But it's not that. It's all about the universal energy of numbers. And that's about the
Hmm.
best way I can explain it. When you have the guides will also give you numbers. So they're the ones that are actually telling us to look at your clock, look at your watch.
Hmm.
Most of the time, when I talk to clients about numbers, I talk about them breaking a pattern, um, like breaking a pattern or stopping what they're doing. So,
Hmm.
it's like, look at the clock now, it's 11:11. Perfect. I stop any reading I'm doing, anything I'm doing, 11:11, we stop and we make a wish. And I stop for an entire minute or as
Hmm.
long as it turns to 11:12
Hmm.
because and I continue and I can just continue to put the positive thoughts in, positive affirmations, you know,
Hmm.
in using language like, I will have $20 in my pocket, or I have $20 in my pocket, as we were talking about yesterday. Because
Hmm.
if we say, I want to be happy, or I'm going to
Hmm.
be happy, well, think about the moments of happiness.
Hmm.
I got happy when I got a free piece of bacon on my burger.
Nice. Yeah. I mean,
It
it's
made me happy.
it could be you could get a free pound of bacon, and but even just a slice, that's enough to make you happy.
Right,
But
exactly. And I'm always be grateful for the messages that we're given, but it's
yes,
to break
yeah,
I always say it's to break our pattern that's going on right now. So you
yes,
think about um when you're like in thought, or you're kind of a little bit frustrated with what's happening in
hmm,
life right now, and you're stuck in that mind loop. They
hmm,
always remind you to look at
yeah.
that number,
Yes.
right?
And
So
the
it
more
breaks
you
that,
fight it, the bigger that number is going to get, and the more
right?
bold and the more frequent to the
You're
point
going
where
to see it.
when I was seeing 911, I was like, I don't know what's going on, but leave me alone. I
Yeah,
was just really scared. Leave me alone. I don't want to see this anymore. But the numbers were getting bigger, and like I said, the receipt I got from when I got my brakes done, I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out.
right.
And
I
then I
mean,
pretty much stopped seeing 911 after I said, okay, I got to figure this out. What's going on?
right. And
So, what is,
555 has always been one of those numbers that I've seen, but I've always cringed at it because
hmm,
it's not considered. 444 and 555 are not considered positive numbers in some Asian cultures.
hmm,
So, for those people who don't know, I have my acupuncture. I have a doctor of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. I wrote my thesis on traditional indigenous medicines and the comparison between that and their medicine, Chinese traditional Chinese medicine,
hmm,
and the similarities between them. Absolutely amazing. And right now, I'm doing my certification in herbal medicine and a tourism degree. Listen to that! Holy
hmm.
fuck! Oh, sorry.
It's all
Holy
right. It's
mo!
all good.
Holy
We're
God!
we're grown up
So
here.
when I the numbers are very, very important to certain cultures of people, and the number four is not a great number for them. Some of the Asian cultures will not have an address with the number four in it,
Hmm.
and same with the number five. So whenever I would see 444, 555, especially 555, I would think about that as bad luck. So it would just kind of break my or unconscious biased at a 555, or ungratefulness. And that
Yes.
really, when I started thinking about, oh my gosh, at this moment in time, I'm not thanking anybody right
Yeah.
now. Like, even though I'm going through whatever that is, the crap or what have you, I didn't
Mhm.
stop and thank for the lesson that's in it. So the more I
Mhm.
see 555, the more it comes into my awareness and I go, there's something I didn't stop and do. Right. When I see
Yes.
444, I think, oh my gosh, that's an unlucky number. So my unlucky number going, I'm holding my head going, okay, so what did I do to bring myself to be unlucky today? Or so I bring those into my awareness and I go, okay, that's what that means.
Yeah.
So, the number four may not be great to some cultures of people. There's other
Mhm.
cultures that don't like the number three, 333. Look at the number 666 or 999, seven
Mhm.
seven seven. Like
Yeah.
we all have certain emotions attached to numbers as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Whereas in the angelic realm,
Hmm. Hmm.
so zero is associated with brand new opportunities and starting fresh. So if you see a
Yeah.
sequence of zeros and ones and whatnot, that's all brand new stuff. One is
Hmm.
a powerful manifestation number. So if you
Hmm.
see like a series of ones, pay attention to your thoughts instantly. Don't start saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm always hitting deer with my car." Don't say that. You think, oh, you know what?
Because
I have got a lot of money in my pocket right
mhm.
now.
Yep. Number
It's a
one,
manifestation.
seeing a repetition like a 911, 111, like
Yeah.
111, 111, or anything that has the one after it, you're like automatically stop because you're right. You're manifesting a thought right at that moment. Ones are all about manifesting thought. So if
Mhm.
you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to buy supper today. Or if you're thinking about, how am I going to pay my power bill today? Whatever that is going through, that's going to manifest into being. So for that next
Mhm.
1111, like that's why I say make wishes, because when I make my wishes,
Yes.
it's all positive. So, I'm making positive wishes, making positive affirmations as I'm going so that the negative thoughts don't creep in. So instead
Mhm.
of, I will flip that and I go, so I have enough money to pay my power bill for the next 4 months.
Mhm.
So there's enough money to pay my power bill for the next 4 months. That's great. I am paying my power bill for the next 4 months. My power bill is paid for the next 4 months. So
Yes.
that's what I keep that, and that's where I bring myself when I see the number, the repeating 11, like one, one.
Yes.
One is very powerful on its own, um, with each number having its own energy, but zero, definitely a new beginning. Think about that at the beginning of money. $1,000,
Yes.
$100. It's a new beginning for money, right? So we're
Yes.
starting in new, right? As opposed to
Brand
nine
new.
nine, which
Yes.
is an ending.
Mhm.
So,
So when you add a two is
mhm.
all about balance, trust, and that somebody in the angelic realm or your spirit guide is assisting you to make those choices or those um,
They they
it's a good
stop
time
and
to reach
listen.
out. Yeah, it's a good time to reach out and ask your guides what's going on. But when you see like 2121 or 1212 or 2112, I had those for a couple of
Me
years
too.
and I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't, but I eventually got there. But it's
Yeah,
basically, yeah, it's you are asking for guidance and you're going to get it. So
right.
if
You're going to
so
stop
when
and
I was
listen.
seeing, yeah, when I was seeing 911, I'm asking, hey, what's going on? You got to tell me, why am I seeing this number? And then all of a sudden it switched to 1212 or
Right.
2121. Yeah.
Exactly. And 911 in and of itself is an ending and two new beginnings. So
Mhm.
it's the end of something old and the beginning of something new. So if you're constantly seeing a 911, there's a decision that has to be made. So end that choice and decision so that you're open to start something new again. Opening yourself up to new adventures, new things that are happening. That's like with the number two. The number two is bringing it into awareness, kind of asking for help, listening to our guides, because that's what our guides are doing. They're helping us to get through
Mhm.
things, you know,
Yes.
just, and so that's what the number two, you're kind of manifesting. well, number one's the ultimate manifester, but number two, you're kind of listening, going, okay, let them assist me through this. Have you ever thrown your arms up in the air and just was like, I am so done right now. I can't do anything else.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yes.
what
Yeah.
I feel like number two is. Number two is like, I am done. And then that's when you ask the universe to
Yeah.
take control
Help me
and
out here.
help me out here and trust that it's going to happen.
Yes.
Like that's a huge thing. And I think we talked about that last week about the trust of it. Like we can say we want $50,000 in our bank account, but if we don't trust and truly believe $50,000 isn't going to happen. But if we
Hmm.
start very small, you can picture 5,000 in your bank account. Great. So then we work with the 5,000. This is
Hmm.
going to be 5,000, right? So that's about the
Yes.
trust. So trust your guides,
Yes.
trust what you're hearing. Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
So if you, for an example, if you need help moving a couch, why would you ask somebody to help you that you can't trust?
exactly.
So
And
that's,
I think about when I do that, that this is weird thought, but when I'm asking somebody to help me move a coach, I think about the money inside of the coach and what's going to be or what's going to be found inside the cushions of my coach. So it's about trusting my own secrets and trusting my own, trusting people to
yeah.
help me with that. When I think about that, like um my house sometimes gets a little bit chaotic. I'm ADHD, have a hard time sometimes cleaning. I have my doom piles, but I trust that there's people who won't chastise me for it. And there's people
Hmm.
that, I can trust that every time they see it, they're going to do it. So why clean it?
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, but that's what the number two is all about. It's just like
Hmm.
stepping back and going, I'm just going to trust. Two is the trust in the
Yes.
relationship. Maybe that's why my favorite number is two. I don't know.
My favorite number, so when I go grocery shopping, I buy everything in threes.
Right.
So three
And
is all about,
I don't like even numbers. I like odd
yeah,
numbers too.
yeah.
Right.
So
One, three, five.
when I'm out with my camera, I like to see. Let's say I see a garden full of flowers. I'm going to try
Mm-hmm.
and get three flowers, or three cows, or three people.
Yep.
I don't like or five people. But typically, when I go grocery shopping, I'll buy 3 cans of soup, or 3 cans of
Mm-hmm.
beans, or 3 pounds of
Mm-hmm.
bacon. I'm not going to buy two and four. Don't like those
Mm-hmm.
numbers, even though they're very
Mm-hmm.
stable. A lot of people are afraid of the number three. And
Mm-hmm.
really, it's all about your ability to add your uniqueness is
Mm-hmm.
there. And so when you add the one or a two, you're asking to have, I want to add my unique self to this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people, like you were saying, are afraid of the number three. Like a lot of cultures, there's no 13 on the elevator. There's
Mm-hmm.
no 13th floor. In reality, there is, but it doesn't show up in the elevator buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Or unlucky number 13, or if they it's superstitious number.
Right.
But really, it's not. It's a very auspicious number,
Mm-hmm.
meaning your innate gifts. Who are you? What are you bringing to the
Mm-hmm.
table?
If you kind of think about that too, think about the fact that like 13 is all about the positive change. Okay. And
Hmm.
you have the power to shape your future, right? And it's about being honest to yourself, trusting yourself, being kind to yourself, all of those things. You're fulfilling a life path. You think about what happens in today's day and age. How many people don't trust themselves? How many people don't have the self-esteem enough to do that? So I think that's why there's a fear of the number three, about trusting
Hmm.
yourself. 13 is what I just spoken about. Trusting in
Hmm.
yourself, having so you're amplifying when you put a one in front of it, you're kind of manifesting your own abilities.
Hmm.
So three is a beautiful number, but we're afraid of it because it brings ourselves into the forefront.
Hmm.
So trusting our gifts, trusting our abilities, trusting our
Yes.
intuition. And it's more of a self-reflection number. So that's, I think, why people don't really like that number. And it became a superstition because in like there's so many stories about why it became a superstition, like on why Friday the 13th and all these kind of things.
Hmm.
But basically, if you think about it, it likely became that way because there was women that were rising above everything else. So they were believing in themselves, believing their own empowerment.
That makes
And
sense.
so,
Yeah.
right? So the number 13 was put on them because that was considered the number of like they never got it to 14. 14 was always even. They never got things past 12. 12 is in a dozen. 13 is the odd one out.
Hmm.
So, right? So as women were rising above, just the number in colonial history, I'm
Hmm.
thinking about the Salem witch trials, the 13s that were there,
Hmm.
happened on 13th of the month. There, people believing in maybe the 13th month,
Hmm.
the moon calendar, there's 13 moons.
Hmm.
And those 13 moons are like very significant to a lot of female power and a lot of women stuff. So maybe that's why it was, yeah. I
Yeah, that
kind of
I
go
mean
on a little
it.
bit about that,
Wow,
but
that completely makes sense. It really does. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, three's a crowd.
mhm, yeah,
And
exactly.
they
Like,
put a very negative spin on it. Three's a crowd.
right,
We
they
don't want
do.
this. But then
Right.
now, once you get rid of that third person, now you're down to two, and you have to
Mhm.
trust. And so
Right.
you have to trust
But
that other person that you're with. When you bring in that
yeah,
third person, they got to push that one away.
right. If you think about shapes, because my brain goes in shapes. Shapes, three is a triangle,
Hmm.
and there is, three sides to that triangle. There's a hierarchy in that triangle as well.
Hmm.
A square has no hierarchy, and neither does a circle.
Hmm.
But the only one that does have a hierarchy is a triangle. So
Hmm.
when you think about the three sides of a triangle, you think about, okay, so there's one person coming in here that's taking over. So people look at that negatively. They always say two's company, three's a
Yes.
crowd.
Yeah.
Four, they're always going
Yeah.
to have the inner fighting. When you have three children, there's usually a middle. So somebody doesn't fit in because now there's three people instead of
Hmm.
two. Now you're dealing with three personalities instead of two. I've always loved the number three. My son has always been told, well, people have always told me that he's a great three because he can walk into two people and help ease their fighting, ease their negative energy. And they've seen him. He just go in, he'll sit down and he'll just play. And he
Hmm.
breaks any patterns that those two people who are
Yes.
fighting or those four people that are fighting, whatever that even number is, he breaks it. So I had a parent say he makes an amazing number three.
Hmm.
So instead of it being three's a crowd, it's all like three, is there. And it's about paying attention. If you notice how movies, like the Mean Girls movies, there's three people,
There's always, yes.
right? There's a
Yes.
leader, there's three people, or there's like someone's afraid because someone else is going to get the attention, the third person. So it's
Yes.
yeah. So
Yep.
it's considered like one of those taboo numbers. But if we let's flip that three and think about it's half of infinity, right? Literally
Hmm.
just add our
Yes.
circles. So if we can infinitely trust ourselves and empower ourselves, that's what that's about. So every time you see that number three, even if you just see three or 33 or 333, it's amplifying it. When it's double, it's doubling it. When it's triple, it's tripling it.
Hmm.
333 is all about empowering yourself with your gifts. So
Hmm.
what is your gift? What is your gift? What is your purpose? Your purpose, you live your purpose every day. And I'm saying this all the time to my clients. People often say, what is my gift? Or what is my purpose in this life? And we have our life's purpose, but we also have the purpose of the day. My
Hmm.
purpose is just to get to Starbucks, just to get that caramel macchiato that I have free points to get. So don't be sending me negative stuff about it.
Hmm.
Right? But that's my purpose because I don't know what, like, that's about coincidences or what have you. I don't know what's going to happen, but my purpose is to get there to get that. So my
Mm-hmm.
three.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more prices would end in 33 because then we would feel more empowered to take control of our money.
Where the heck was it? Was Walmart doing that? I
They
don't
were
want to
doing
promote once.
eights. Yeah,
Eight.
they were
Okay.
doing like, and
Yeah.
they would add the end things in eights, sometimes threes, and fours,
Like
but
an
they got in
eight.
trouble for the fours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Four actually symbolizes stabilization,
Hmm.
grounding. So when you're talking about that pyramid, that triangle, think
Yep.
about a pyramid. The pyramid is
Hmm.
a triangle is the strongest
Hmm.
one-dimensional shape, but a pyramid is the most. And so at the top, you've got the hierarchy. When you look at it from a distance, it does look like a triangle, but when you look at it close up, it is it's a four. So there a
Mm,
pyramid has four sides, and it's more stabilization, like you're growing roots. So if you
yeah,
start seeing fours, you are where you're supposed to be right now.
right.
You're putting down sticks, you know?
Yep. That's also 444 is a really powerful number for positive energy from your guardian spirits and your guardian angels. So that is really where our loved ones who have passed on, that's where they come in the 444. And it's particularly the number 444, not just the number four. It's number four is about strong support, all that kind of stuff. that that's when we're trusting um our other side, our energy and all that stuff. But 444, I wanted to explain that because that's when we reach out, and that's when our ancestors are reaching out to us, or our spirit guides are reaching out to us, and they're solidifying the positive energy, they're solidifying things for us. So 444, you're getting a message from a loved one, whether it be a song on the radio, whether you see a feather, whether you have a dime, whether you get an extra shot of milk in your coffee and you can taste the difference because maybe that's the way somebody drank it on the other side. You know, they screw an order up at Tim Hortons, which, happened to me yesterday when I went to drink it. It was a cappuccino and it was supposed to be coffee. And I'm thinking, what's this for? Did a reading last night for somebody who's had cappuccino spilt on them and burnt themselves. And the person went to the hospital. And it was like this big story for a spirit on the other side. And I'm like, okay, so that's why I got the cappuccino instead of getting the coffee. Oh, so that's what the four, and that happened at 4:44.
Hmm.
So you're
Nice.
getting messages, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get a message on a 444. But I just want to talk about
Mm-hmm.
that, about the 444 in particular, because
Mm-hmm.
it's very significant. People ask me a lot about patterns and numbers, and 444 comes up very rarely, but it was one that I want people to be aware of. Now that we're talking about these numbers, you're going to see them all. You're literally going to see them all.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
All right.
totally. Hmm.
Five, the five fives,
Hmm.
uh, it's signifying change. And I'll give you an example. I was having a really hard time. This was back in 2010, having a really hard
Hmm.
time finding a job. And I moved from one city to the other, and I ended up with a volunteer job at a homeless shelter. I loved the work, absolutely loved it. It was very fulfilling work. It just wasn't paying. So I had to, throw my resume out and I ended up working at a big box store. Wasn't overly
Hmm.
thrilled about it, but the locker that I chose, that was chosen for me was 55. Sorry,
Yep.
555. That was the
Hmm.
locker that was chosen for me.
Hmm.
And I thought, wow, okay, that's an odd sort of a number. And so I go home, I look up what does this 555 mean? And sure enough, it means change. So you're on the precipice of a major change. And let me
Hmm.
tell you, I had a huge change. I've not been unemployed since. getting this
Right.
job. And that's all I was worried about was,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, what I'm going to be homeless. Oh my God. I was so
Mm-hmm.
scared that I'm going to be on welfare. It's not, sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm not putting a negative spin on welfare. People do need it. I understand that. But after graduating two colleges, I got two degrees. I don't want to be, in that position. I want to be employed. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's the first thing I saw was my locker was 555. And I thought, oh, that's odd. And,
Right.
and it was the major change.
555. Well, the number five, like you said, it's all about major change. And the more fives that you get, up to four. Like if you're seeing five, 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 you got to start to break those down. And, you know, it's all about transformation when you get to five, five, five. So there's change. There's like, okay, there's a five. All right. So that's change. Then you think, okay, you see 55, you keep seeing five, 55, whether it be 155, what have you. It's like, okay, we're changing. So what is it that I need to change? That's when you start to look at that. And then when you see 555, it's like, screw the change. Now it's about transformation. And transformation is the one of the biggest changes that we can do, right? That's what it is, just transcending. Um, and if you also think about a clock, 555 is the last time we're going to be seeing a repeating digit on a clock, on standard clock, right? I mean, we're going to see 22222, of course, four twos, two, if we're doing military time. But that's the last time because we're not going to see a 666. We're not going to see a 777. We're not going to see an 888 or 999, right? We're not going to see those numbers repeating. We are going to, that's the last time. So at 555, it changes to 6 o'clock halfway through the day. We're like halfway between six. It's not really a stretch, but we're heading into a different time of the day, whether it be 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. So 555 is saying, okay, this is the last time. This is our last time that we're going to see this number for the day, this time of the day. It's time to maybe reset our thoughts. Let's change it. Let's transform something, right? It's all about when I was just thinking about the number 5588. And I'm like, what a powerful number that is. You're
Yes.
transforming at an abundant level. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even writing that number down, 555, 555, 5588,
Mm-hmm.
put it under your pillow and just
Mm-hmm.
think about that number, the connection that you have to it. It's connection to like all these like the wonderful things that are changing. And the opposite side of that is people believing that it's a bad luck number because
Mm-hmm.
change may not be the greatest thing for people.
Yes.
Um, and change is just another reset. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we believe it's a positive change or we believe it's a negative change, we already have in our head the way we want it to work out. So it's not necessarily going to be the way we want it to.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make it a negative change. Something or someone comes into your life and just upheavals everything. And if you're going, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
it happened, whatever. That is what like the 55, the 555 people are not ready for transformation, not ready for change, they're not ready for it. And it could very
Mm-hmm.
well be a negative change. But at some point in time, that negative is going to have to become a positive. I was just
Yeah,
thinking
and
about the
so
muscle. Yeah.
when you combine that with the zero, so zero is all about starting brand new.
So let's look
So
at the
you're going
number
to start
50.
brand new with a huge change. Everything's going to be different. Okay,
Right.
let's move on
Let's
to
look
the
at,
sixes.
I
Oh,
was just
sorry.
going to say about the number 50. Think
Yeah,
about or how our life changes at 50.
at 50.
So
Yes.
at 50 is like that time when we're like, we become a very different people at that point in time. Things that we had happened in our past, we've grown enough to hopefully start to love ourselves, get
Mhm.
over the bad habits that we've had and really crack down and go, here it is, right?
Yes.
So
And
that's our
so,
50. We're starting again.
yes. So, moving on to the sixes, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, when they say 666, so I think
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood has acquired this number and created something. I think this is all a human construct with where people are
Absolutely.
terrified of this number, thinking it's involved with the devil and stuff like that. It
Mm-mm.
is because people have made it involved with
Mm-hmm.
satanic
Mm-hmm.
rituals and whatnot. It really isn't. This is my opinion, and I don't expect anybody. So there's a difference between Lucifer and Satan, and Lucifer is the
Absolutely.
one that's going to come in and show you that 666, not to scare you, but to say, hey, you know what? You better start taking better care of yourself.
The
You need,
negative
I need,
portion of things.
yes. And so when you see that, it's just a reminder that, hey, you know what? You that pain in your chest, you might want to get that looked at,
Mm-hmm.
or that toothache, you better go and have a look. Your wallet right now is empty. Might want to take care of that. It's
Mm-hmm.
not to do with satanic rituals. That's a human construct. And I wish people
Exactly.
would stop being afraid. It is one of it's the reason I like 666 so much is because it's a reminder because I forget. Hey, you know what? I'm really not feeling good, but I'm too busy working to really give a shit, you know?
And
I'm gonna
that's
see
exactly it.
666. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll go get that
Yes,
taken care of.
exactly. And it's all about balance. Six is about balance and harmony. So,
Yes.
kind of coming to that conclusion that I'm good, right? 666 is not a bad omen. It's your higher self checking in on you to say it's time to take care of your spiritual being. You keep
Hmm.
seeing 666. The reason why it may appear to be negative to you is because that's the thing that's off balance.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's your medicine wheel portion that's off balance. So that's what makes people feel uncomfortable. When they see 666, you're right. It's that thing from our spirit guides, our soul telling us that, all right, it's time to check ourselves or to make sure that we're doing okay.
Hmm.
You know, checking on your tooth. You've had a toothache. All of a sudden you forget that you haven't been to the dentist in a while and it's going to cost you all this money. So you put it aside. But that's what the 666 is about. It's about checking in on that. Cause like, okay, if you don't get that checked out, it's going to cost you more money down. So I think that like we, the mark of what they call it, like the mark of the beast or what have you, that's a Hollywood human
That's really, yeah.
construct. Very
Yeah.
much like Friday the 13th, very much
Yes.
like, certain numbers that we put out there being like 666, 777 being lucky. Like, who put that out there? That the number 777, that's all a construct. So if we just take a
Hmm.
look at that and we go, six associated with balance, harmony, nurturing. 666 is the emphasis on maintaining those aspects in our lives. So they're paying
Hmm.
attention. They're paying to like the other day I had my bill was $6.66 and I'm like, thank you very much for that
Thank
universe.
you. Yeah.
Thank you because there's something that I really need to do. Maybe I need to check my pocketbook and go, okay, you're not having any more $6.66 sandwiches or whatever that was. I don't remember.
Hmm.
I just remember the bill. So it's that reminder. So,
Yes.
we have to really, when we see patterns and stuff, it's what does it mean to us? Because
Hmm.
we're obviously seeing a pattern of numbers. We're seeing these numbers over and over again. So they're into our conscious awareness. They're dropping in. They want you to be aware of what's happening. So when you're looking at that six of session, oh my God, that's the market of the devil. Oh my God, that's evil, that's evil, that's evil. That
It's
is what
not.
you're putting out there to the universe.
Yeah.
So the universe is like, oh,
Yep.
okay, we don't have that. They don't have that concept of evil. That is actually like the Hollywood, you know, dramification of everything
Hmm.
that's happened.
Yeah.
So
And the more negative spin you put on it, the more negative spin you're going to have. And
yeah,
that's
and
what we
that's
were
what you're
talking about
bringing
last week
into
was
the
was
person.
manifestation.
Yep,
So
exactly.
you mentioned the number seven.
Yep.
It is sort of, I guess, lucky number
Hmm.
seven, but it's
Hmm.
all about new monetary
Hmm.
opportunities. And
Mm.
so these opportunities are not long term. So that's when you have the eight comes in. But
Hmm.
so if you have that 777, you go
Hmm.
to the casino and you get the 777 that comes up. So that's what I mean by it's monetary abundance right now, but it's not long term. So let's
Hmm.
say you throw a quarter in and you win $100. Well, you're going to take that $100 and you're going to spend it again and then lose it. Sorry, that's just an example. But you just have to be careful with that number 777. It doesn't mean you're going to be a multimillionaire and never have
Hmm.
to worry. You're on the right path. So um, when
It does
I
say that
was,
it is
oh,
lucky, as you were saying. Sorry.
yes,
It is
sorry.
lucky.
When I was
But
driving through the States,
mhm,
I was very skeptical. Am I doing the right thing? And every time I would be a little unsure of what I'm doing, I'd see mile marker 17 or exit 17 or 117 or something, a license plate would go by and it's like 7171. It's like, okay, I guess but I kept on going, following these sevens and these ones all the way down to the southern US. And it turned out that it was when I came back, I saw the 817 before I left the
mhm.
States, and now I haven't been without money since.
I
So
love
you get
that. That's
that
awesome.
you get that momentary windfall. You've got the money in your hand and you're going to do something with it, but you have to be smart about it. You got to be very
Hmm.
smart about it. And then yeah, so what else would you like to say about the
I
sevens, the lucky
I what I'd
sevens?
like to say, what I would love to say about seven is that it's absolutely correct that it is considered a lucky number because but it's
Hmm.
temporary luck. It's
Yeah.
what you make of it. So if you think about the number, just the number seven on its own, you're like, okay, I'm seeing that seven in my mind. I'm like, okay, something good is going to happen now because I'm seeing number seven. So
Hmm.
that could be seven, maybe there's only $7 in your bank account, but then there becomes $77 in your bank account, and then 777, right? We're
Hmm.
manifesting it. What I wanted to talk about was a pattern of sevens is look at phone numbers. Okay. There are seven digits. If you look at there's seven insights, there's seven laws of attraction. Everything has a pattern of seven. And seven is one of the easiest patterns that our brain will remember. So if you ever have something you're trying to remember it, say it 7 times and your brain will register it on number seven. So if you're trying to remember someone's phone number, you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I say that
Hmm.
7 times and it's ingrained in there. Somebody's name, I rhyme their name, but it's usually like a seven-letter name or a seven pattern that I get. The number seven itself, so the significances are that it's a positive number. It helps us to become more aware of financials and how we deal with it. We go with the 77. 77 is a little bit about short-term gain and
Hmm.
how we deal with our short-term gain. So
Yes.
we can look at 77 and go, okay, I'm doing good right now. And
Hmm.
then if you don't handle your finances properly or make the proper decisions, then it's the kind of the warning of telling you it's not going to be that way forever. And
Hmm.
then when you hit 777, that
Yeah.
777 is all about trusting that you're in your right spot, but keeping what you've had long term. So, like you said, you got to the 777, you saw the seven 3 times.
Hmm.
817, 717, all that. And that's saying that, okay, so you're great. You've never been broke again, right? You've never really had to, I always pictured 77 cents in my bank account because then I would never be broke. But or
Hmm.
$7.77 or
Hmm.
$777,000 in my bank account. That's the numbers that I choose to put in there because I'm like, I know once I reach that, I'm not going down
Hmm.
and always have
Yeah.
money.
Always, always, always.
75
And
cents.
or and
Always,
and it
always.
doesn't necessarily mean money. It means you're manifesting that love of your life,
Hmm. Hmm.
And if you manifest it under the numbers
Yeah.
seven, could
Yep.
mean short-term love of your life. But
Well,
then when
yeah,
you
because
add,
seven is short term. It's not like
yes,
long term. It's like short term. It's also um embracing our guides, like
yes,
a little bit, kind of leaning on them a little bit more, and personal growth, which is something we haven't
mhm,
talked about yet,
yes.
right? What is
And
our
so,
alignment?
yeah, exactly. And so now when you add the eight to it, that
Oh, it's
that's where you got the
beautiful
infinity
number.
symbol.
Right.
So I'm just going to give you a little snippet of why the first time I saw 817, I was meditating, and I was just kind of at my wit's end. I'm sitting underneath these majestic trees in the middle of the woods, and it was pouring rain, and all the trees, there was a canopy that was keeping me dry. Like these were really, really tall trees. And so I'm just kind of looking up at these trees and I'm saying, all right, I appreciate you keeping me dry, but why? What am I here for? What do I have to look forward to?
Mm.
Closed my eyes and I saw this little being come in from this side, and
Hmm.
with his long finger he drew 817. And I said, what
Mm.
does that even mean? And he
Right.
went away. And guess what? As soon as he went away, the canopy broke, and
Yep.
all that water came pouring down on me. And I was like
Hmm.
drenched. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So now I'm trying to think, I'm trying desperately to figure out all of a sudden, like these trees were keeping me dry. Now you're
Hmm.
not. And what is so it was, oh man, I'll tell you, it was just a crazy time. But 817 has followed me. So when I got my job at the gold mine here in Nova Scotia, it was on
Hmm.
August 17th.
Hmm. Day before my
And
birthday.
yeah, so 817 is following me. So eight is infinity
Hmm.
when you see it. So when you have the 817, it means the seven is your abundance
Hmm.
that you have manifested. The
Hmm.
one is that's your master number that's coming in
Hmm.
and really that uh, punctuating what you're manifesting. And the eight is all about you're going to do this forever, for infinity.
Right. That's right. It's abundance, prosperity, financial success when you're looking at 888 as well. So it's good. So you've already accomplished a short term at seven. So now
Mhm.
look at infinitely as the number eight. Okay,
Mhm.
so you're protected. You're going to do very, very well um, for yourself. Like that's just yeah. I
Mhm.
can't say enough about 888, but eight
Mhm.
in general. It's about success. 88 is success, basically. 8888 is about abundance, prosperity, and success. The number eight
Mhm.
itself, it holds its own infinite possibilities. It's all about, you know, that when I think about the number eight, I just think about how far I've come and how proud of myself I should be. Because the
Mhm.
number eight in and of itself, my phone keeps darkening. I apologize.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, if I'm not touching the buttons, it just goes off,
Mhm.
whatever. But eight is basically, I don't know. It's a beautiful number. Turned on that side is your infinite symbol, meaning
Mhm.
abundance, meaning there's no start, there's no beginning, there's no end.
Yeah.
So, Eight
And
is
and
what you want to strive for.
and so if you see an eight and a nine together, that's pretty rare.
Mm, eight,
They're
yep,
kind of eight is infinity and nine is the ending. So
yep.
so when I was seeing 911, I was
Hmm.
not understanding what it was really meaning until I
Hmm.
got that bill for my brakes,
Hmm.
$911.19. And
Yep,
that's when I really started digging into it. I thought, okay, something's about to come to an end. And sure enough, it was my job. And that's
yep,
when COVID hit. I
yep.
lost my job. I lost my apartment. I, and as soon as I moved out of that apartment, that's when I started seeing 17 everywhere.
Yeah, and that's really good when you're talking about like 89 or power 98. Yes, 8 is the abundance and 9 is the kind of the ending, and it's all endings have new beginnings. So you're kind of like,
Hmm.
is that mean that I'm going to I have to start beginning again with my abundance? No, you just have to focus on what the abundance is, right?
Hmm.
There's infinite abundance. Abundance is infinite. But that doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily mean that you're going to have an infinite amount of money. You're going to have an infinite amount of whatever it is, infinite amount of love, infinite amount of money, infinite amount of
Yeah.
success for yourself. So the nine checks you and says, okay, so you're going to have a new beginning now because endings are all about, all about the end of something. So
Hmm.
nines are like, you always feel so final. Okay, I'm heading into a 10 at nine.
Hmm.
I'm heading into nine, I'm heading into 100. And we already talked about the one being the beginning, the zero being the beginning, like 100. It's the
Hmm.
end of something, the beginning of something new. So right
Hmm.
now, I'm on my ninth. I'm on my ninth life. So, or ninth time around.
Hmm.
Here we go, right? Nine is about the ending. I love it. I love nine. I guess that's a great segue to number nine.
Hmm.
But
Yes. But
pairing
then,
them together is,
yeah, but then when we, after nine is just a one and a zero, which is
yep.
basically master number and starting again.
Hmm.
That's what
Right.
it is. All
Um,
right. I'm
your
just,
89 is about you're achieving your highest potential. So it's
yeah.
about it's the highest you can go, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's personal transformation. It's a very, very, very powerful and very special number.
Hmm.
Um, and it's well, if you're talking math, it's the last prime number.
It is.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes. I haven't
so
quite figured out the Fibonacci sequence. I think it starts with two, and then I don't know. I don't know if it's prime
yeah,
numbers or the opposite of prime
I
numbers.
don't know. I've never heard of that
Yeah.
actually. How does that spell?
So, well, when you have how do you spell it? Fibi, Nachi, Nochi, I think. But it's
Mm,
so let's say you have a flower, for instance,
okay,
and
here it is.
you'll see one
Mm-hmm.
petal or
Yeah.
one or two petals come out, and then you have four petals and then eight petals, and so it's just the number is constantly doubling is what it's doing. And
Mm,
it's not the same as sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is
I see the pattern.
patterns
It
fitting
it's
together, not numbers.
Yes. It's 0 and 1, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. 8 plus
Yes,
13 is 21. So it's
yes,
basically adding the numbers
yes,
ahead of one
yeah,
another.
yes.
That's
And
interesting.
those numbers you're going to see in nature.
Yes, those are
And
definitely
so it's
the
not a
numbers.
human construct. Those are numbers that you're going to see in nature, along with the what did I just say? The pattern.
The petals.
No, what did I just say? So there's the
The
Fibonacci
Fibonacci.
sequence,
Hmm.
sacred geometry.
Geometry.
So
I
like a beehive.
That's another thing I
So
love too. Oh my God, I
yeah,
love sacred
yes,
geometry. Love
yeah,
it.
and colors. I
So,
love the colors.
oh my
Anyway,
God,
I'm just
don't
looking
even
at the
get me
clock here,
started.
and wow, we went way over an hour again.
We
I'm
have
glad I
attempted to
don't set
do
a
so.
timer. If I set a timer, I'd be like, okay, hurry up, let's keep talking, go faster. And
Yeah,
then we'd miss all
exactly.
some good stuff. So anyway, this is another wonderful conversation. I love the conversations that we have. I love them so
Mhm.
much. Do you remember what was it? Maybe 2 years ago, we were having conversations, and I said we should be recording these
Hmm.
because they're
Yep.
pretty amazing. And
Yep.
so here we are, we're
And
recording
here,
this.
our
So
beginning conversations that we have sometimes we just go and we just record, but other
yes,
times we have conversations ahead of time. And sometimes we're talking an hour before we even get on
I
to do our
know. And I'm
podcast. And we're
like,
like,
should
it's
we
about a
be?
completely different topic. And we're
Yes,
like, oh my
yeah,
God,
yes.
let's
But
focus
then
back on that.
But then that stuff we talk about beforehand gives us ideas for a future show, so which is
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah. But we have so
actually,
many more
Nori,
ideas for next
yeah,
show.
Nori, who was on with us last week, she gave me an absolutely fantastic idea for an upcoming show, and
Mhm.
I just remembered to mention that to you, so I'll mention it so once we're all done here.
Mhm.
Anyway, so if
Well,
you're
thank you
listening
for
tonight,
I was going to say thank you for being patient. You got to see glimpse of my child with his Oculus on, and a glimpse of my beautiful cat. By the way, her name is Pixel, and
Pixel. Pixel
Pixel
makes an
has a
appearance
very
all the time.
unique, yeah. And her colors on her change constantly because
Hmm.
that's why she's called Pixel off Pixelate, and she has a very unique story, and it has a lot to do with the number four. Four cats in the home, four dogs in the home. She came to us on a number four. She's actually a February 29th baby. So,
Oh.
yeah, so she's really one. When we got her, she spent an entire year, and I remember talking to you guys about that under the bed. And I had a vet that tell me that that's perfectly normal. She would come out, eat, go back under the bed, come out, eat, poop, do what
Hmm.
she had to do, go back under the bed. And she only had a really big connection with my son. And then I went to get her spay, and she had some bad complications. And for 4 months, she was healing at someone's place. So she's definitely a four cat. But now
Hmm. She's
she's
very stable.
loves people that do not like cats. That's her forte.
Yes.
Loves people who don't, and she'll make a
Which
cat lover out of you.
which is it's funny you should say that too. Once we're done, I'll tell you the topic that
Mhm.
was suggested to me. So
Okay, no
anyway,
problem.
so if you are returning, thank you so much. We appreciate you returning. Please give us a like and a share and click that little bell notification because we are actually recording on a Thursday, not a Friday.
Hmm.
So I want you to be able to find this show on Friday when I'm going to upload it tonight, but it'll be available on the Friday. Um, but yeah, click the notification button, and that will let you know when we have some new stuff. Sometimes I will post pictures. I don't know, just random stuff. But anyway, I'm going to put all your information in the comments in the description below, and
Hmm.
we will see you next week.
And anybody has any patterns that they're wondering about, any questions, we are going to delve deeper into numerology. But tonight we just want to talk about angel patterns and the sequences, the numbers. We can of course talk another 2 hours on this one. I know we could. But if you have
Mhm.
anything that you want, any questions, just drop us a line, drop us a message. If you have a story about numbers that you continuously see, um,
Yes,
you
I
know,
love people's stories.
let us know. Yeah, I love people's
Yes.
stories too. I love that. I love being able to talk about why people see numbers that they see. And,
Mhm.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
We'll
We'll
talk to you
chat
next
soon.
week then. Have
All
a great
right. We'll see
night.
ya. You too. Bye bye.